Before we get into public input, I do have a couple of things I'd like to say. This week we lost one of our more senior members. Herb Winke was 103, and he passed away this past week. He was a lifelong member of the St. James Lutheran Church, where he held several offices there. And he was also a Burkholz Fire Company member for over 70 years. And we're going to miss Herb. I had the pleasure of attending his 100th birthday just a couple of years ago. And he's going to be well missed. One of his daughters worked for the town. Carolyn Chapin worked for the town for several years. And he will be missed. In the back of the room, we have young Joshua Walter. He's a young man from Holy Ghost School, if I'm not mistaken. He lives over in the Kruger Road area. And he was bothered when he heard of the death of Ryan Fisher just a little over a year ago now. And he came up with an idea for his science project for Holy Ghost School, which you may have noticed out in the back hall, taking a look at slowing traffic down through the use of a speed sign. Ryan, would you like to let us know what your project was? And if you want to come to the microphone, you could. There's a mic right there. Before he gets there, he probably won't want to say it, but he did get first place in the science fair. It should be on.
First of all, I would like to thank the town for the opportunity to do my project. I would especially like to thank Mr. Cliff, Mr. Sigmund, and Mr. Zastro for the permission, support, and assistance in coordinating this project. I'd also like to thank the Niagara County Sheriff's Department and the St. Johnsburg Fire Company. For those of you who don't know me, which I don't imagine any of you do, I'm an 8th grade student at Holy Ghost Lutheran School, and I completed this project for my school science fair. Although I never met Ryan Fisher, who was tragically killed in Kruger a year ago by St. Johnsburg, I live in the same neighborhood and have traveled down Kruger countless times with him. Not with him, but with my family on my bike, and I've seemed after a while to notice the signs, which are these traffic signs that were these carts, and I was wondering if they would help improve safety in the community, so I performed my project. So my project involved comparing the speeds of drivers who traveled down Kruger by St. Johnsburg for 2 hours with the radar cart giving feedback, and a different 2 hours without the radar cart being present. I sat in my dad's car, and using a radar gun that he owned, I collected and recorded the speeds of those who passed by. I recorded speeds for over 200 vehicles, over 100 in each condition. And I found that people drove an average of 6 to 7 miles per hour slower when they got feedback from the radar cart sign, which was an average about 31 miles per hour, than without it, average of 38 miles per hour. People were 8 times more likely to drive the speed limit with the radar cart sign than without it. Nearly 40% of the drivers who received feedback from the radar cart drove the speed limit, but only 5% of drivers who did not have feedback from the radar cart drove the speed limit. In short, my results suggest that the presence of speed feedback devices, such as the radar carts, do seem to help discourage drivers from speeding. In conclusion, no, I'm not in charge of the budget here, but I think an investment in more radar carts around the community may improve driver safety and the safety of our community members.
It's really nice to see that the young people of the area take an interest in taking a very serious project and giving us a good answer. They do work, and we have replaced that. Robin was instrumental in helping out with Joshua and his project. Thank you very much, Josh. Okay, I guess we'll move on to public input now. Do we have anything, Brian? Nobody signed up. Anybody at the last second? Okay, thank you. For the record, Kathy, all members are present. We do have a set of minutes. The set of minutes is from March 7th's meeting. Does anybody want to move those in for approval?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Randy, second by Gil. Anything you wish to change? Anything on the question? If not, then all in favor of approving the bills, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? They are approved. We have a bill pay which has an addition to it. The basic bill pay is $242,162.08, and that's for vouchers 2016 326 through 430. Gentlemen, can I have a motion to pay these bills?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Art, second by Larry. Anything on the question? All in favor of paying these bills?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, there will be another one possibly coming later. Move on to departments. Water sewer. Rich, anything going on in water sewer these days? Anything for Rich? Thank you. Mike Rinaldi, Recreation.
Good evening. I got a couple of things tonight. First thing is just to recap our Easter party we had over the weekend. 210 kids showed up, so that was, we were kind of competing with like 4 or 5 different things going on in the community, but we had a really good turnout. The entire board came out, so, thank you for your support. That's kind of leads the driving force behind these special events, and
How many jelly beans were in the big jar?
1,486, and there was 460 something in the other one.
I was way off.
So was
But I wasn't allowed to enter. I didn't be
And my staff, they're just brilliant. They come up with ideas on the fly. They get the kids involved. They even get the parents involved. They're just really, really sharp and creative with coming up with new ideas. We had a post-game meeting afterwards, and we already started planning a Halloween party. If we can pull this off, it's going to be awesome. I'm telling you right now. Second thing, summer camp registration began today. I had 15 registration forms get faxed over before the end of the day, so if you want to get in, I suggest doing that soon because that will fill up and we will start a waiting list. The third thing I got, last week I had a pre-construction meeting with supervisor, the engineering firm, and NFP and Sons for the park improvement project. Just a little update on that. They hope to begin in the next couple weeks, weather permitting, and obviously if all goes well, they're hoping to finish sometime around Memorial Day. I don't know how firm that is, but obviously the weather will play a factor in that. I don't see Superintendent Sigmund, but I do want to thank him publicly. He has offered up the millings behind their shop to do the sub-base for this path. It's the only way we could actually get the entire loop all the way around. Their guys already started hauling it over today, so as soon as NFP is ready to go, we're ready to go. And then the last thing I got within the last couple hours, Building inspector Mike Clock and I kind of took a lap around the whole complex to kind of go over like our master list of things to be done inside, outside, all three buildings. We've actually checked off a lot of the things that we've had going in the last couple of years, and we just have talked about some of the things we would like to do in the future and kind of throw it at the board eventually to kind of prioritize what you guys want and what we think should be done.
I think Randy is concerned with the condition of the parking lots and the road itself.
That's
We
one of the
haven't
big things.
we haven't gooped it in many years, and we do need to restripe it pretty badly too.
Part of the problem, I think, it would probably be easier to talk to Paulie, but I think a lot of it needs to be kind of milled out. There's a lot of cracks, and we got a crossover out back here that goes from all the way behind the community center and all the way out to the storage building out here, and there's just a crack down the whole seam. A couple of the DIs are shot. Like, I don't know if going and just sealing that, the parking lot's kind of shot. It almost needs to be paved. It almost needs to be paved. So I think that's something we got to talk about and figure out.
Got to get Paul into your into a threesome with the other two.
Yeah, see what Paul can do, if he can help us out with some of his extra money and get it paved. And
it might be just patching. I mean, I don't know if you have to pave the whole thing, but there's definitely some areas that
well,
do need
without
to be
digging it out,
top
those
coat.
cracks are going to come through, but at least
Right.
it would be better than it is.
Sure.
Tim, you got to look at that sidewalk. I see it cracked about 2 feet from the control joint on that community center, or the gym. Why? I know you didn't do nothing wrong. You're an engineer, is why I'm asking you. We got a control joint, and about 2 feet away, it's cracked. It cracked. I saw that Saturday. I said, Mike. Anyhow, no, I know you did nothing wrong.
That's right as a trip
Anything for Mike?
When we were before the board meeting, I think Mike, the other Mike, mentioned something about. I think Randy was talking about it, and Gil. We bid last fall a canopy over the community center, and I don't know, maybe it was a bad time of the year. The bid contracts, we didn't get a lot of responses. So, in the bid specs, I think are already done. It's not going to cost us anything to rebid it. I don't know whether we need a motion to rebid that project, see if the costs come in any better now that we're in construction season.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
Do we have a second? Moved and seconded to rebid the canopies. I guess one of the questions I'd have on that, is it going to be split like it was last year, where it's 2 different projects for the 2 different buildings? That way we can pick and choose if we need to? Yep.
And I don't think there's any funds involved with Wendell or anything to do this. I mean, the bid specs are written. It's all we have to do is repackage into another bid. I didn't put a time period on that, though. I don't know when we'd want to have those due. But I want, I don't want to limit to 3 people. If we got 20 contractors out there that want to bid, bidding's healthy. I mean, competitiveness would be good.
Sealed bids that we're going to open here,
Yes, sealed bids.
Would it be too quick to expect it back here for our next meeting on the 4th of April? That's 2 weeks from tonight. You think that's too quick?
Yeah, Easter vacation is
then
on now,
Larry,
too.
on your motion, do you want to call it, I think it's April 18th would be
April
our next
18th,
meeting?
or why don't we have the bids back in maybe by the 13th or something? Is that a bid on Wednesday or Thursday before the board meeting?
Whatever, but not.
And we'll open them.
Not open them till the meeting.
We'll open them at the board meeting. So maybe Thursday the 14th. I'll amend my motion to have bids into the town clerk's office by Thursday, April 14th.
Okay, Matt, will you take care of getting that bid? Make sure it gets out?
I can. I think.
And work with Mike and Mike.
Yeah, I think they sent it out before, but I can double check. I know I wasn't involved in the previous, but we can
Yeah.
make sure it gets out.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Anything more on the question?
Yes, one point here.
Go ahead.
Is there some way to consolidate all of the things that we want? For instance, this would be our wish list, take care of the back parking lot, do repaving, or whatever has to be done to that area to make it good, make it sound. Same thing with the concrete, same thing with the work that you're looking to have done. Can we just put it in one lump sum and bond it, that kind of thing? Instead of 15 little projects
You can bond
and
it
bond it?
regardless, but if you get over the $35,000 nut, then you're into state bidding, and that's gonna
Okay.
create problems.
Yeah, and it's not gonna be less than 35,000.
Not if
Not
we're
if
gonna
we pave the
repave
whole
the building.
thing, and
No.
it's like 110,000
Yeah.
square
Yep.
feet or
Yep.
whatever it is.
Okay.
Okay, anything further on that question? All in favor of releasing these bids, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's approved. Anything else for Mike?
Mike, you got a great staff with a great imagination. Fantastic job. Really a nice job. Really creative young ladies. They
Hiding
really
eggs
are.
underneath balloons.
I mean, they are. They're outstanding. You have got a good group there, and you're supporting them properly. I like it. Very nice. Nice
The
job.
only thing that was kind of on a bad note was there's no stripes in the parking lot, so parking was a little disarray
Crazy.
because we had so many people trying to park in the parking lot, but
Yeah,
hopefully
in
we
the
can
fall
get that.
got the parking lot on the north side of the community center, and we got the parking lot in between the two buildings, and it got too cold for us to do.
Yeah.
There were a lot of vehicles. Yep.
That's a good problem to have. Though.
Yeah, it is. Nice job, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Other Mike, buildings. Anything for Mike? Then we'll move on to Bridget. Anything exciting? Arlene? Nice. Thank you. Thank you. I guess we're up to Tim Wendell.
Thank you. The only item we have on our agenda this evening is our planning board report for the month of March. Our first meeting being on March the 2nd. First item on that agenda was a public informational meeting and site plan review for the Niagara International Sports and Entertainment Facility. The applicant at this meeting had revised their previously submitted plans and is now proposing to construct two 96,000 square foot domes as opposed to the 138,000 square foot dome. The two domes would only be 75 feet high as opposed to the 110 foot that the single dome was going to be. They'll both still be interconnected to the main wall complex. The development still anticipates having 12 full-time employees initially, with 30 to 40 part-time positions as the complex develops. A public informational meeting was held and comments were noted from several individuals. The applicant was advised of several items and issues to review prior to their next submittal, including a photometric study, acquiring current background noise levels, access during construction, and landscaping. The planning board also declared lead agency status and began a coordinated review under seeker. No other action was taken that evening. The next item was a sketch plan for the Wheatfield dehydration facility. As you all know, the applicant proposes to construct a natural gas dehydration facility on a 40-acre parcel located on the north side of Liberty Drive near the railroad tracks. Construction would be limited to the access road and a 200-foot by 214-foot fenced area, which will contain a reboiler building, a small electrical building, a small RTU building that's for controls and for their outdoor equipment. The fenced area would be located approximately 260 feet north of Liberty Drive and approximately 270 feet west of the railroad tracks. The applicant was advised of several items to address in their formal site plan submittal, including noise, emissions, photometric evaluation, wetlands, drainage, and stormwater management. No action was required or taken. The next item was a site plan for the Driftwood Suites. This site plan was actually approved at the November 18th, 2015 Planning Board meeting, but the building department referred the applicant back to the planning board after noticing the building design changes that could affect the site plan. Thanks, Mike, for catching that. The applicant explained that their interior size of their units is smaller, which allowed them to provide more guest rooms in those units. The applicant is now planning on issuing using one of the units also as an office where they will also live. The applicant was directed to provide updated renderings of the proposed materials and landscaping and to evaluate the parking counts based on the new layouts of the building's interiors. No action was taken. That was all for the March 2nd meeting, and the March 16th meeting there was only one item, and that was the Driftwood Suites being back again. The applicant returned to the planning board with information requested at the March 2nd meeting. The board reviewed updated renderings, building floor plans, and discussed parking. Based on the revised floor plan, more parking than originally approved will be required to meet the zoning code. The applicant then provided a letter signed formally removing the fourth unit that was to be constructed at the north end of the existing 5-unit building. This enables their site plan to comply with the parking requirements. Any future site design, including that removed unit, would require additional planning board review and approval. The planning board subsequently confirmed the original site plan approval. And that is our summary from the month of March.
Thank you,
Any
Tim.
questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
No, I guess not. Thank you. This is probably a good time to do the bid opening. Kathy has 3 bids that were received. This is for the fence. Senator Ort has found some money to help us put a fence around the Niagara Sanitation landfill. It's probably something that should have happened back in the 1980s. It didn't. So this is actually bids to select a consultant or a design engineer company to design the actual fence, probably survey, and possibly tree cutting. In the interim, we did find out that we don't have to do all the roadway. So the actual fencing in the area, Larry, you had the numbers, about 4,400 square feet, 4,400 feet in the landfill area. But coming out to the roadway would have been another 2,800 feet of fence at a probably $10 or more per foot, plus tree cutting, plus survey. And DEC has agreed that all we have to do is the fence around the landfill itself. We can bring the opening for it all the way back to the landfill. So that'll save us a great deal of money. Okay, you got 3 bids?
Yep, we have 3 bids.
Anything quick, or do we need time?
Nope. Clark Patterson Lee declined. GHD. A fee not to exceed $9,970. And Wendell submitted a bid with a fee of professional design 5,000 and boundary survey 1,800, so 6,800.
That's everything? Okay. We may take action on that in one of our motions. Thank you, Kathy. We'll move on to motions, Matt?
Yes, the first two motions on the agenda regarding Parkside Estate subdivision Phase 4, those have been both pulled by the applicant for reasons that they will need to have a few additional criteria met, so they've asked to pull those. The first, becoming the new first motion from Water and Sewer, is a motion requesting, and this is their initial request for 2 trucks. I know the board may wish to modify that, but it is to authorize the purchase of 2 2016 Ford F-250 pickups under the Chautauqua County bid for the price of $25,136.12 each. These are new trucks to replace a 1991 pickup truck and a 1998 van. Said purchase amounts would come from the Water and Sewer's 2016 budget.
Okay. Does somebody wish to make a motion?
Wish to modify the motion and discuss that with Richie, if that's possible.
Yep.
Richie, just going with the one vehicle, would that be satisfactory for this year? And with the hopes of getting the second vehicle next year? You can live with that. There's nothing that's in dire need that will shut you down that you need to. I fully understand that. Yep. I fully understand that. With that being said, then I would revise this motion to reflect the purchase of one 2016 Ford F-250 under the Chautauqua County bid for the price of $25,136.11.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Anything further on the question? Well, I guess that's for you, Rich. Which one would you then consider surplus? They were 2 different years. I'm not sure about mileage.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to eliminate in the motion then the 1991 pickup and leave the 1998 van? Is that what I'm hearing? Art, it's your motion.
Yeah, that'll be fine. The revision's fine.
Randy?
Second. Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Okay, the new truck is going to replace the 1998 van. So we will still have the 1991 pickup. Okay, anything further on the question?
Yeah, the 1998 van then, that's surplus, are we gonna be, we're not trading it in, it doesn't say we're trading it in, so we would be doing Auctions International on that, probably the... Okay.
No, that's all right. Thanks, Richie.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's approved. Matt?
Next motion is to declare an irregular shaped parcel on the west side of Endicott Corporate Drive containing approximately .34 acres as unnecessary to the town and surplus, and thereafter authorizing the transfer of said parcel to Niagara County Industrial Development Agency, which owns property immediately adjacent to the town parcel. It is resolved that said parcel is of little or no value to the town and only generates expense and liability and should be declared surplus, and authorize the transfer to Niagara County Industrial Development Agency is hereby authorized. The description of the property to be transferred is as follows, and there is the legal description, which I won't read at this point, but since we originally put the motion together, I spoke to Rich, and we would add to the motion that this transfer would be subject to, because Rich uncovered there was a water line and meter there, this would be subject to attorney review and water department review of not just the proposed deed, but also containing necessary easements for the water line and the meter.
That would go after the word authorized and before the description of the property?
Correct. It would be subject to attorney and water department review of and the addition of necessary easements.
I'll go ahead and make the motion. Do we have a second?
Second on the question.
Go ahead.
What is the urgency of giving up .34 acres to the Niagara County Industrial Development Agency? What's
Well, right now, we do have to maintain it. The church, the IDA will in turn be giving the property to the church. They've already deeded some property in their area to the church so they can expand their parking lot and get a secondary point of egress. And this is property the church can use and we can't. There's nothing we can do with it. The IDA is sold out. They're never going to be able to get anything for it. So it's a small piece of property that somebody can use. Too small to put a business on.
so they're going to drive over it?
That's my understanding, is the church wants to use that to have a secondary access.
Is that okay, Richie, for what's in there?
So the easement is our protection
Yep, okay, all right.
if something goes wrong.
Okay.
But it's also my understanding, and I know Paul's not here, that the town has been mowing it and other maintenance that we don't need to do.
That park is now sold out, and it would be good for us to get out of the business of having to take care of it.
Yeah.
Yes, Mike? This little section is that little turnaround section that has the funny looking sign that has never been used. And that's the part that we would be giving up. So we will no longer have to take care of it.
Is there something there that you're questioning?
As of right now, that's still our road, and we're still responsible to take care of at least the first 15 feet. Okay, so we have a motion. Any further questions on the motion? All in favor of approving this?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's approved.
Next motion's from the Highway Department to accept the lowest quote from Valley Tire Co., Inc. for 4 tires, 23.5 R25 Michelin XHA2 for the Highway Department's John Deere 644 loader. Said quote includes sandblasting and painting wheels, dismount, mount, and O-rings. The total cost of said quote is $9,934. Said purchase would come from the Highway Department's 2016 budget. This quote was the lowest responsible quote of 5 separate quotes.
Okay, does anybody wish to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Gil, second by Larry. Anything on the question?
Yes, I think we heard, before the meeting that the tires were how old, Randy?
Well, 20 years, and these are Michelins, and those were Michelins, so,
We got another 20 years to look to.
yeah, he did have a cheaper quote, but there were some, you get what you pay for, so let's go with the Michelins.
Then, if nothing further, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's approved, that.
Next motion is to authorize the town supervisor to enter into and execute a preliminary engineering agreement between the town and CSX Transportation, Inc. regarding CSX's engineering review of the proposed construction of the Niagara River waterfront multi-use trail pedestrian bridge over CSXT lines. Together with entering into said preliminary engineering agreement, this motion also authorizes the payment of the CSXT estimated engineering expenses, which pursuant to the agreement are reimbursable by the town. Said estimated total reimbursable expenses for the project at this point are $14,960. If said amount of reimbursable expenses are not fully consumed by CSXT engineering, said amounts will be returned to the town. Conversely, if engineering expenses exceed the anticipated amounts, additional amounts will be charged of the town.
Okay, does anybody wish to make this motion? Moved by Larry, do we have a second? It's a payment I have to make, so, and a thing I have to sign, so I'd rather not do it. Okay, moved in second. In order to proceed with the design, for Wendell to proceed with the design over the railroad track of the Greenway Trail, we have to pay for the engineering cost that's going to be incurred by CSX, reviewing Wendell's design. That's what this money amounts to, is their cost to review Wendell's design. It's all part of the Greenway project.
Should this have a limit to it? It's pretty open-ended at the bottom.
It is pretty open-ended.
Couple $100,000, I guess.
Yeah, it is pretty open-ended. I don't know, Tim, if you have enough experience with them, but this CSX simply says we're not going to bother looking at your prints until you pay us this amount of money. I don't know where they get the number from, but it came from them. Leanne was the one who was working with them on it. So if the project is going to go ahead, we're going to have to make this payment. If they don't use it all, we will get some back.
And I can add, I have reviewed the agreement. Part of it is, it allows for termination by both sides within 15 days' notice. So if, I suppose, we were to receive a request for additional funds, if they anticipated additional engineering expense and we deemed we were not going to be willing to do that, we could ask to terminate it. Of course, that would end the engineering review, but that's the, I guess, escape clause if we felt that their engineering review was getting too costly.
Okay, anything further?
Will this money come from the grant that we received?
It will probably work through the grant at this point.
So that's how we're gonna pay for it?
Well, eventually, we're going to have to be bonding money to pay for the Greenway Trail, but even in phase one, this is one of the steps to be able to get there.
Well, we received $1 million, right? One or two?
1.136 million plus 70,000 from the county.
Is there enough money left out of it between the engineering fees we're doing now to pay for this? Because it seems,
But it was an 80-20, it was an 80-20 grant, I think, right? Or something, I think it was an 80-20 grant originally for the 1.13 from DOT. Scenic byways, I guess it was, scenic byways. Okay, anything further on the question? And all in favor of signing the agreement and paying the bill, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Now, this is the one that I mentioned before that would be added to the bill pay. Kathy's aware of it. We have the voucher upstairs. I'll have to sign the voucher, and it will go through this week so we can get this moving along. We have a couple other possibilities, Matt.
Yes, we have, based on our public hearing tonight, I'm going to put this together on the fly. I didn't previously do a written motion, but I can compose it later. But basically, with regard to the Jacob's Ladder matter, I have a potential motion to authorize the submission of an application to the New York State Office of Community Renewal for Development block grant funding to support the development of a fitness equipment manufacturing facility at 6292 Walmore Road by Jacob's Ladder LLC in the amount of $100,000. The motion would also authorize the supervisor to enter into the requisite agreements, and this motion would also designate the supervisor as the environmental certifying officer with regard to this application.
Do we need additional insurance to cover the supervisor?
If it's done through the town, I have insurance. The town has insurance which would cover that. If it's done through the LDC would have to purchase insurance for the directors.
and we're gonna ask the LDC to continue on their path with all due haste to see if they can get their insurance and get an attorney and get themselves organized before we have to hopefully sign off of this.
Yeah, we have to be careful, the LDC will have to be careful of attorney, because it cannot use the town's attorney.
True.
There's a requirement under the LDC to be, as Richard calls it, at arm's length. It's not the town, it's the corporation, the local development corporation. So we probably have to have another attorney. Bob O'Toole was on that project from the beginning. He's the one that wrote the bylaws. He's somebody that the LDC might very well take a look at. But we would have to have a way to pay him for his trouble. Or anybody else.
The LDC would have to pay him, yeah.
The LDC right now is looking, they have about 3 different tracks they're working on. I think one of them is they're trying to get insurance, director's insurance. They got another subcommittee that's working on bylaws. We had draft bylaws from O'Toole was our attorney, and they're redoing the bylaws just to make sure that those bylaws are good. And the third aspect is I think the state requires the LDCs to have formal training, and I think they're looking into the training that requirements. So there's a few steps, and because they've been inactive for over a year, mainly because they didn't have any projects or funding to look at until the Jacob's Ladder project came along. So
from the town board's perspective, this is sort of what we've been looking for, is a project where we can help get jobs here in Wheatfield and help a business here in Wheatfield, without having to use taxpayer funding. And this is an opportunity. It's not a real big one. It's not $1 million business. It's not a $1 million loan. It's only $100,000, but it is a chance to get the LDC off the ground and work with a relatively small project to get us off the ground and get us running. So we're hoping that the LDC is willing to take this over.
Bob, if you got a second, why don't you tell everyone who's on the LDC? We have some really good businessmen and women that are on this LDC, business professionals. So, Bob, if you could maybe go through and tell everyone who's on the LDC.
Yeah, the supervisor is by definition one of the members, one of the directors of the local development corporation, but just a member, one of 9 members. The town board gets to make a decision as to one of its members, or somebody else, it doesn't have to be one of the members, gets to make a decision as to who a second one of the directors would be, and right now that's Larry Howig. The other people who are on the board include the CFO of Calamar, I guess he's a business relations manager of M&T Bank. He happens to be our business relations manager, and he happens to be a Wheatfield resident. The person who is now retired from the Bridge Commission, he was one of the directors of the Bridge Commission between the U.S. and Canada, at that pretty brown building up there by the Lewiston Bridge. Who am I missing? Bill Wagner is the head of our Business Development Committee, from whence the idea of the LDC came about. He's actually the chair. Larry Whittle, who is a longtime agent from the IDA. He is retired from the IDA in Niagara County Economic Development, so he certainly has a good background in this. Who am I missing, Larry?
You get Josh Hines?
Yes. That's M&T.
You got Richard
Muscatello. Richard Muscatello has done just about everything for the town except run for office. He's the head of our planning board for many, many years. He's the head of our task force, and he's a leader of several businesses in his past. He's a past commander of I think the 914th. So he's got great experience as well.
And the one vacancy we had, I think, came from
Sharon DePasquale was one of the people. She was a great person on the board. Unfortunately, she chose to move south, so she's living in warmer climes. We don't actually have to replace her, because the way the charter is written, it can be anywhere from 3 to 9 members. Right now we're at 8. It just, when you're even, it means you have to have 5 voting in favor to take action. And I think that's it.
But bottom line, we do have one vacancy potentially, so if there's any interest out there from any of the community to be a member, I guess send us a resume or an application.
That would actually go to the LDC. The
Right.
LDC gets to make that selection. Okay, we have a potential motion on the floor. Larry, I don't think you made that as a motion, right? You asked a question.
Yes.
So we do not have a motion on the floor. Does anybody wish to make the motion? Does anybody wish to make the motion? Okay, we have a motion from Art. Do we have a second? This is to put in an application for a grant for the benefit of Jacob's Ladder.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Anything further on the question?
Yes, so the application's going in, and then I guess, the way, our attorney worded the motion, I guess the supervisor, you'll be working on the terms and conditions with, Jacob's Ladder and how we're gonna structure that grant?
Yeah, I
As
think
far as-
Jacob's Ladder, Mr. Bell is still here, Chuck is still here, and presumably you're gonna write terms and conditions in conjunction with Matt. And can we wait until the next meeting, the April 4th meeting, to actually decide? 'Cause right now, we don't have anything before us. We don't have an agreement. And then on the April 4th meeting, we can actually proceed with an actual document or modify that actual document. So we got 2 weeks to get ready for the board with that document. Okay.
And my only request is that if we can structure job creation, some type of, distribution of the, term to tie it to measurable jobs. That's some of the comments I've heard.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Anything further on the question? And all in favor of proceeding towards an agreement, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's approved then.
And I don't have any further motions at this point.
Well, there's the public hearing. We have a public hearing in place for, I believe, the second meeting in April, and that has to do with the conservation subdivision law. The consultant who has been working with the task force and with the focus group on that can't be here that evening. So what I would like to recommend, and I will move, that we move the public hearing from whatever the date was, April 18th, and we move that to the first meeting in May. Let's say it's 7 o'clock on May 2nd. Need a motion I need a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. That'll take new notice, I guess, Kath. Okay, anything on the question? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so that's moved. The other thing would be the fence. Is anybody ready to make a motion regarding the 2 bids? The 1 bid was rejected, so we have 2 bids before us so that we can proceed with the fence? Or do you need time to look at it and come back in 2 weeks? Okay, well, we could do it subject to approval by the town attorney. Okay, why don't you make your motion?
Make a motion, approve the going ahead with the apparent low bidder, have the CD review the town attorney to see if they comply with the specification and so forth.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Anything further on the question? And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is approved. I hope the wording's sufficient, Kath. The low bidder, was Wendell at this point. I hope so. It may not be.
May 2nd is what I got, Mike. Yeah.
Okay, then, I think we're done with motions, Matt.
I have no further.
Then we'll go to board member items. Councilman Helwig, anything?
Last meeting, Nate Carr from Quasar was here, and I think several people in the audience and the board, asked him some follow-up questions, and he was pretty responsive. I had a couple follow-up emails from him. In particular, I think I asked him the loads that they received from Drain Doctor. I wanted some type of verification that they were only from restaurants. They weren't containing any thing from septic tanks or sewers or anything like that. And he assured me that they have the shipping manifest from the documents that come in, that those manifests, they have them all on record, and he assured me that none of those had that type of origin. They were all from restaurants. So the manifests are there, so if we really needed to foil those, I suppose we could and get those, but
He did say you didn't have to foil. He said he'd take you right in and
yeah,
see him if
I
you
mean,
wanted. And I do believe John Cunningham is going to be going in and taking a look at those.
I've asked him a second question. He did also say that the digester is tested once a month for heavy metals and pathogens, and I've asked him for those test results too. I haven't received them yet, but his follow-up email to me stated that, so I asked him if I could have a copy of the results. So he's not replied to that email yet. That's all I have.
Thank you. Art?
Yeah, just real quick, I have nothing to read to you this evening, thank God. Fire Advisory Board is still meeting on the first Monday of the month, so consequently a lot of times we miss them coming to our meetings here. But just to give you a little bit of a heads up, our first revitalization meeting with the Emergency Disaster Plan group will be this Thursday night, so we've reformed it. We have some new participants, and we're going to take a look at the town now with a new group of folks, new focus group. You're always more than welcome to come over to the community center and sit in. It's going to be basically organizing our emergency plan again with the fire service. And also the comprehensive planning group. Each focus group will be meeting this Thursday as well from 6:30 to 9. And then following that will be the Fire Advisory Board emergency plan. And that's about all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. Randy?
Agricultural focus group meeting tomorrow night at 7 p.m. at the community center, and that's all I have.
Okay. Gil?
Nothing.
Just want to, Joshua's gone home. He's probably in bed by now, but I thank Joshua for his work, and I thank him for coming here and showing you that these speed signs actually do make a difference, and we're hoping to get that out very shortly. One thing to note is that Catherine Lance, as head of the Economic Development Committee, has agreed to pay for a substantial portion of that, whatever it was, $8,800 was it for the unit. So it's not going to be all in our backs, and it is a nice lightweight unit. It looks like it'll work very well for us. And I think that's all I have, Matt. We do have a meeting on April 4th. We do have a public hearing that evening at 7 o'clock on the Agricultural Protection Plan. Then our regular board meeting at 7:30. So we're back to public input. Is there anybody who wishes to say anything on any subject before the town? Anybody? If not, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we are adjourned.